Hello everyone, how are you? Hope you're having an incredible day, and may peace be upon you. Thank you for watching the show It Takes Courage with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil, and today we have very special guests. The entire crew, I mean not the entire, but most of the crew of the Travelers Fugue movie set are here with me today. And then first up, we have the incredible director, Thom. So Thom, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. So it's such an honor to be here. It really is.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I watched your show. It's really simple, quick film, a 20-minute film. And I know that you also work full-time. You have a 9-to-5 job. So how do you find it? Like, how do you find this energy to keep up with your passion?
I honestly, it's basically the people who I surround myself with that fuel the energy to actually make these types of projects. It's amazing that they have so much motivation, and they inspire me to do movies like this, like short films too.
Brilliant. So what made you like this idea of this short film? What was the turning point from like, oh, okay, this is an idea, to like, let's make a whole production out of it? What was the turning point to
Well,
that?
you'll get to talk to Kacy. Kacy's the actress in my films, and I've been friends with her forever. So what it was that we shot this really short segment, and it was just for us to test the camera, really. And I cut it together, and then I showed it to her, and she was like, why aren't we making something out of this? I was like, I don't know, let's, and then so I was like, okay, well, we'll contact my friend Giselle. Giselle actually wrote the script under the guise of like, let's do something from the 80s, like an 80s film, and it's got to have this, it has to have the, certain ideas, like, a sense of wonder, lack of cynicism, just adventure and wonder and stuff like that. So this is what kind of generated what Travelers Fugue became.
And it's also the kind of like the whole storyline is around aliens, right? Like the aliens are like...
Well, okay, so time travel is an interesting thing. Somebody asked me what this movie was about. It is a time paradox, which is like sort of like a girl finds a mysterious woman in the woods, and she wants to figure out who she is. So her sense of like, oh, I got to figure what this is kind of the fuel for her to go search her identity. And it becomes there's a surprise in the end, and it basically the time travel aspect does play into it, and that's kind of, I sort of thought of like Flight of the Navigator for that sense. Like there's a sense of sweetness. I don't know. I like time travel movies.
Yes. Yes. I grew up watching Back to the Future.
Back to the Future,
it
course,
was like a classic. I still watch it till today. And then you also like coming together for this project with a group of friends, right?
Oh,
so a group of friends coming
it was incredible.
Together.
I couldn't have asked for a better crew or cast. They were like, I every time I'm away from them, I truly miss their presence, because it was just a labor of love. I mean, it was all, and it was a big effort to get to this point, but it was, I was very fortunate. And typically in production, people tend to get stressed out, angry, they turn on each other, they never want to talk to one another ever again. So it was really nice that, I created this with really generous people.
Great. And are you still friends with them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll, hey, let's go do something. Like every once in a while I'll tap into.
Yeah, and then you've got your friends here as well, right?
I do,
Which are the lead actors, Kacy and Jessi, who's going to be coming in, and Natalie as well, who is the...
she's my DP.
Yeah, she's your DP, so you've got like the crew in with the crew here. So I was always curious, as a director, you have these different roles, that people have to play. So how do you choose like the one that is the perfect fit for that particular role, you know, because sometimes it's like, yeah, she's good, but then we'll just take her, or is it this person? How do you make that decision? Because it's hard when you say no to people as well.
Yeah, that's the hardest part about in terms of casting. I'm going to cast everyone, and you know, I remember
including
hearing,
myself, right?
Of
In the
course,
next movie,
you're going to be in the
that's
next
right.
one, another time travel movie.
That's right.
But no, what ended up happening, like it's really difficult, so I actually rely on the recommendation of other friends. So they'll tell me like, oh, I have a friend who wants to be in the movie, and that's how I met Jess. Was Kacy's classmate,
Which is
and friend.
with the two lead actors in this movie.
She ends up being like the main lead because it's her adventure through, you know, this bizarre thing that happens in her life. You know, go searching out for something, you'll find something special, right? So we needed to find somebody. In her case, we needed to find somebody that it was a really hard find because I did Backstage West, this casting that people submit.
Okay.
And it was just people didn't get that dynamic of like a sweet innocence because you know in this generation there's a lot of kind of people want to be a harder edge to it, and we were doing sort of more of a vintage idea. And you know, the marching order for a lot of what we were talking about was let's get rid of all the darkness. Let's just make something that is sweet, that is like warm feeling. Let's make something pleasant for people to watch, and then after you watch it, you're like, I really like those people. You know, I really like everyone that's involved. There's no darkness, no anger, no meanness to it. It's just strictly done as, you know, from that generation. Is that something I grew up watching? Was like, oh, they seem like everyone there was actually pleasant people to be, you know.
To be working with, right? And then you have different people coming together because it's that passion.
Yes.
Versus, you know, other things that could cloud the entire project. And I also like the angle that you put with the project because, you know, there's this, when the two lead actors, Kacy and Jessi, was in the wood, and then suddenly these two hooligans come out.
Right,
There's always like this, like
the bullies.
80s kind of like, what do you call it? 80s kind of like flashback, you know, like Back to the Future. They also have that hooligans.
The Biff character, Biff Tannen.
That's right, the Biff character.
But you know, he's kind of goofy. He's like not you know, you sense he's not like completely dangerous, but he's still sort of. But then there's like this underlying thing that later on our society now in 2022 adds this darkness to that character. But back then we were just like, he's a bully. He's the typical,
the goofy,
the stereotypical,
kind of,
but he's still, And then you find out that, you know, he lives with his grandmother in part 2, and he's just a silly person. So there's a silliness to that quality to film, but we never actually questioned those things either. You know, like why is a old scientist hanging out with a young teenager, right? We just let that go. We just say, okay. But in our society now, we nitpick those things. And again, I wanted to make something that just, please don't question like the bigger, you know, thing. Just enjoy the ride, the pleasantry, and all that stuff.
Yes, it's about enjoying the scenes, right? Enjoying the moment, enjoying the many kind of like little things that nostalgia, like you know, the hooligans, and then the crazy mad doctor. That was just like
the mad scientist.
Mad scientist. It was kind of like really interesting.
She's like scatterbrain.
Scatterbrain. She's like messy. She's like all over the place, but she's kind of brilliant as well at the same time. And I also like how you kind of bring these little things together. Like towards the end, you have, you know, when she was visiting, you know, I'm not going to tell too much about the spoiler, but she was at the door wanting to knock on the door. There was this little sign, right? So and kind of like bringing these little things that just gels everything together. So how do you kind of envisioning it? Because the mastery is in the details. So how do you bring like all those little things together?
It was a tough, like it was sort of like, okay, so it's not really a message movie, but like you do definitely need a core of that idea of a you know, so people understand like, so everything about like, don't forget who you are is sort of the idea of this, where, you know, the space traveler, the time traveler, forgot who she is, and then she, you know, slowly became, as she inches closer and closer to the reality, her memories come back.
Yeah, her memories come back, and also don't forget who you are, but also the courage to be who you are, right?
Yes.
Because one of the characters, Jessi, who is passionate about ET, like aliens.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm
That
passionate
space.
about that space, passionate about that.
And in the end, she ends up being the person who will follow in the footsteps of the mad scientist doctor, and then she's going to go figure out how time travel really works.
That is so cool. Thank you so much, Thom, for
Absolutely.
your time. Stay with us, stay tuned, because the next crew for Traveler's Fugue are going to come up, and stay tuned for the trailer.
Where am I? Earth. Who are you?
Human. I'm a bit of an alien enthusiast. Oh, I should probably say extraterrestrial. What are your pronouns? Do you guys even have gender roles where you're from? Is this even your human body, or is it some sort of superhuman suit like in Men in Black? Feels real.
I think I have an idea, a wise Vulcan.
Who are you and what do you want?
We have enough problems as it is. Someday you're gonna realize that kindness doesn't always repay with kindness, Paige. Not all dreams are realized, if ever.
But even if I'm not an alien, how will I know who I am?
Only one way to find out.
Hey everybody, we're back, and I have the lead actors of the Traveler's Fugue film, Kacy and Jessi. Welcome, darlings.
Hello. Hello, thank you.
So, Kacy, you're kind of like the lead actor in there when you were flying on the space, and then suddenly like you crash, and then you don't know who you are, right? So, I know you've been acting for some time. This is not your first film. So how is it like different with this film and the other films?
It's funny because a lot of times I asked Thom, is this too much? Like, is it? And he'd always say yes. So this character is, she's pretty, I'd say she's low. Like she's
subtle. She's like very calm,
Yeah,
right?
she doesn't really, she really doesn't know what's going on. Like she barely knows who she is. And so for me, I'm a very expressive, person. And this character was just so, like checking it out. And that for me was hard because, a lot of times it's like, okay, rest the face and have concern, but still have confidence. No resting victim face, but still very, very calm and settled. And again, I asked Thom, I don't know how many times, was that too big? Or he's like, no, it was good. Or was it too big? Yeah, it was.
Well, that is strange, right? Because I guess that's part of acting, right? Like you kind of always, not always, but sometimes you act the opposite way of how you are naturally. Naturally in life, you're bubbly, you're joyful, you're energetic, and then on that character, I don't know where I am.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Like it's kind of like the opposite of things. And was it like which part of yourself, or who were you pulled into, inspiring you into honing in that character?
My sleepy mother self. I have the course of, how long did it take us to shoot this?
4 days.
Or like spread out?
A month.
Maybe longer. You're on like young person,
month and a half.
like young person time. But no, I have a 3.5-year-old. He's now 3.5, and I just was like, let me just be my tired, trying to pay attention. I have to focus self. So I just zoned in on the like low energy. I think that's probably the wrong thing to say, but that was kind of easy to tap into.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so exciting. So it's kind of like basing on your own experience as a mom of a 3-year-old. I have 3 kids. I've got a brother who's 11, another who's 8, and I've got a baby who's 18 months. So I'm like, baby, I can't. And then just like that, totally. And so interesting, like being parts of mom helped you to like hone in into that character, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. That's, one way to being a mom. So I want to move on to Jessi here. Jessi, first movie ever.
Yes,
Hooray.
that is correct.
What was it like? What was the game changer that said, you know what? Yeah, yes to this movie? Or I know you've known Kacy before in acting school, but what was the turning point to like, I'm in acting school to like, okay, I'm ready to be on film. I'm ready. I'm going to say yes to this.
Oh man, honestly, it was just circumstance. Like there wasn't really a moment beforehand where I was like, I think I'm ready to do this. I mean, I didn't even know that we were going to be shooting on film, and I didn't even know what that meant until the first day of shooting, and Thom was like, you get like 2 takes. And I'm like, okay, then let's do this. Like, let's settle in, let's do this. I think it really hit me as we were doing it that I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely can do this.
I think that's so important what you say. That like, there's never going to be a point where you're going to be ready, right? Because like whether in life, because one of the things I do is media and business, and there's never going to be a point when I'm going to have all the business plan laid out or have the best or the perfect client. But you just touched something that many people who like waited 10 years, 20 years to like, okay, I'm never going to be ready. I'm just going to say yes, and then you should confirm 2 takes, and that's it.
Yeah, so now I approach everything as I'm always ready for this. I'm always prepared for this because of this opportunity that I had been given.
Yeah, and look at where it led you, right?
Absolutely,
You
I know.
were like, I don't know what's your point of view in terms of Alien, but it led you to meet Kacy and Thom and Natalie and the other incredible crew. I mean, never done this before. There's gonna be mistakes, but you learn as you go along. And what was your experience with the crew? I know you only met Kacy, but have you met the other? Do you know other people in the crew before?
No, so Kacy was truly the only person I knew when I started this project. And then I got a little bit familiar with Thom, and he made it a very welcoming environment. And honestly, I created friends, Natalie, Lisette, our producer, and I did not expect that, because a lot of the times you hear the sets, everyone does not mesh outside of it, but I feel like with this cast and crew, like, we're all one big family, like, truly. It was so sweet.
But it's so cool. Like even in the film, like both of you were paired together, right? In most of the, you went to the mad scientists together. You were together in the woods. You were together, with the hooligans. So you were like paired up together. And I think do you feel like having an extension of a film crew that is supportive and welcoming made you feel somewhat confident to kind of like express yourself on camera?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like the crew, they were like, you've done other projects before, right? And I was like, no, this is my first one. And they were like, well, you're doing a great job. And I'm like, okay, awesome. This is great.
Wonderful. I'm going to touch back to Kacy here. So Kacy, I was told that Jessi came in as a referral from you. So what was that thing that you saw in her that you feel like, I should send her an invitation? That because you know Thom, you know Natalie, so obviously you see that the crew, like the way I see it, it's kind of like who fits with what, right? Like is she good for this, but then she doesn't fit with that person, so it's gonna be a nightmare. So what was the thing that you saw in her, or still see, that's right, in her, that have that sparkle to invite her to come to the project?
It's funny because, as Thom said earlier, we shot, we're doing a camera test. It was, the space pod like crashing down to Earth. And when Thom sent the script over, his and Giselle's script, I read through and I was like, I don't think I sent anyone else. I was like, I have someone to play this Paige character. And I, doing class with Jess for how long were we in class together before? Like 2 years, maybe 3. Pandemic through eventually, I don't even know at this point. But I always knew I wanted to work with Jess on something, and so I also write, and I always say like, oh, this role is perfect for her, because I really have truly always had. I'm like, we're gonna be in something together, because you're so vulnerable and tough, but yet like
the innocence, right? Like Thom was saying earlier, like, the sweet innocence.
Yeah, there's like a precociousness to this character, but also the character is like she's wounded, there's a strained relationship with her mom, her dad's not there, and so with the layers, there's this bubbly, and then there's like a sadness down there. And I'm not saying you're not a sad girl, but there's there's this like vulnerable thing that she has, which I think like. I mean, I always say like for your age, as if I'm like this like old fogey, but like for your age, I think Jess is. I say one of the best right now, and I cannot wait to see you working in something. So I was like, I'm going to be in something with her before she blows up.
Oh, that is interesting, right? What other people see in you that you don't even realize. So thank God for the right people seeing things for us. So thank you so much, Kacy and Jessi, for joining us today on set. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And next up, we're going to have Natalie Perez, who is the cinematographer for the shoot. Thank you, and make sure you join us. Stay tuned. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to It Takes Courage with the crew from the Traveler's Fugue. And today I have the gorgeous, inspirational, and also the very creative, the DP, Natalie. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here.
My pleasure. And I'm kind of new in this film world. What does DP stands for? Because like Thom was like, DP, Natalie. I'm like, what does that stand for, DP?
I know. So DP stands for Director of Photography, which another word for it is cinematographer. It's basically the person who on a film set designs the visual aspects of the film. So the angles, the colors, the lighting, all of it.
That is so cool. So like you kind of like see the lights and you kind of like in a way represent their voices, right? So you have the actors and the actors like there, but you're kind of like stretching through their voices through making it come through film.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's kind of like finding additive ways to help tell the story apart from just the actors telling the story. I mean, that's obviously the most important part, is getting good actors that can help portray certain characters certain ways and really drive the story forward. But it helps if they're nicely lit, or the lighting is focusing on a certain aspect in the scene or something like that. So it's really just enhancing the way to tell a story visually. So, yeah.
Beautiful. And Natalie and I, we've known each other almost a year. Like like in December, like Natalie filmed my TED Talk. So that's how Natalie was the first person that I met, one of the first person that I met on my TEDx when we had the rehearsal, right?
Yes.
We had the rehearsal. And then she was the first person I met. She had this warm, gentle smile. And then, since then, we've collaborated on a book project. Natalie is the #1 international bestseller of Women Who Lead. And then we've collaborated on my project, on doing my short film as well.
That's right.
And then here we are, like coming together. And one of the things I found about you, Natalie, is that your creativity. So you're a very creative person. That's how kind of you express yourself. So how much creativity and freedom did you kind of have in putting in this project? What kind of your little sprinkle that you put into the film for this?
Yeah, this project is really unlike a lot of projects that I get to the chance to work on, because Thom, the director, is really, he's so chill and flexible, and a lot of times when we work together, we'll just show up and kind of figure it out there.
Right.
Now, for this project, we did, storyboard beforehand, and we talked about the scenes a little bit, but for the most part, it really is just trusting his vision with the story. I love learning from him, so whenever I get on set with him, I'm always just open to seeing what his perspective is, what he wants to do, and then I'll throw my stuff into like, hey, why don't we get a shot over here? And he's always like, yeah, let's do it. So it's a big confidence boost too, to be able to work with him, share my ideas. I feel like my ideas are seen and heard, and ultimately together we create something that's just really fun for the love of filmmaking, and it seems like a lot of people have enjoyed it as well. So
Yeah, it's a fantastic storyline, and that key part that you mentioned about your ideas or your voice being heard, right, and being seen, even if it's not maybe the right idea then, right, but at least you're being heard, and you know, you're being valued or appreciated in that. And then I also feel that, you know, when you're filming, you were outdoor, you were indoor, you were here, you were there. So how do you prepare for the different, let's say, the outdoor scene? I saw that picture of you like wrapping up, you had the hoodie and everything because it was a little bit cold, right? And then when you were indoor, you know, obviously it's warmer then, so you didn't have so many layers. So how do you prepare for those different angles and locations and scene? Because it must, probably in one day, you're probably filming 2 scenes, 3 scenes.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
it could be anywhere from 1 scene per day or 20 scenes per day, depending on how, you know, quick we get through it and how long the scenes are. But yes, I think really the whole crew, and that's like the joy of this particular project, was that you kind of just show up and you're game for anything. You know, we're game to drive 2 hours into the middle of the forest to film something in the freezing cold, and then we're game to, a lot of the scenes were actually shot at my house and in my garage, and so, you know, like just moving stuff around and figuring stuff out. Like I remember at one point I was like, we wanted to get an overhead shot in the garage and didn't have anything to get overhead, so we brought in the ladder. I sat on top of the ladder, but of course I was right near the roof, so we're like all squished in there. So you just kind of make it work, and that's the joy of it.
Sounds so exciting. So you're on the ladder, you're on the roof, you're on top of the car, you know, you're on the ground, you know, you're like, because there was this angle, I think, in the woods when the lead 2 actors, Jessi and Kacy, was walking down the woods, and then you shot from this like little circle of like between the leaves, you know. So that was like kind of like fascinating, the eye, the angle, and it kind of like, do you feel like when you have this variety, it kind of like gives a little bit something special? So it's not just one straight angle. Does it feel like it brings things together and also expressing your creativity to it?
Yes, definitely. For example, in the forest shoot in particular, we actually had a Steadicam operator to come who basically, it's like this big gimbal that allows you to walk and have the camera be stable as you're moving, which is much different than if I were to just have the camera on my shoulder and I'm walking around on unsteady ground. And so because we had the Steadicam operator, Ilya, come, we were able to play with more moves that were in his skill set. And so really it's just kind of a project like this, a passion project, allows us to all have fun in all of our creative respects, to try different things, to do something that we're proud of, and just try and not be afraid to make mistakes, because I definitely made some mistakes. Thom knows. And some of the forest shots were out of focus, and during those scenes I was pulling focus, and they actually had to go back and reshoot those scenes later, a couple weeks after. And so, you know, like that was a bummer, but nobody made me feel bad about it. And it was a great learning lesson. And so this project overall was just fun to work on. I felt like my voice was heard. I made some mistakes. I learned from them. And what more can you ask for?
Absolutely. And that is the key, right? Like, mistakes are inevitable. Like look, it's gonna happen, right? But it's kind of how you deal with it and how the people around you deal with it. If they were like, you know, for example, Thom there would be like, Natalie, this and this and this, so you would like, and then thank God that it's a passion project, because, you know, you don't have any penalty, you don't have any red tape, right? Like to go through all that if it's not a passion project. I wanted to touch base as well because Thom loves traditional filming. I mean, like setup, but you're more versatile in a way. Like you could go digital, you could go traditional, you could go even Zoom, you know, who knows, you know, in future you could have the Zoom part of it. So what was it like filming with the traditional camera? The experience was like for you?
That experience was really incredible. I mean, Thom taught me everything that I know about shooting on film, and still to this day, I don't really feel comfortable unless he's there to kind of help out. But film was a new medium for me to learn. I learned in the digital age. They didn't teach me film when I went to film school. And so Thom taught me everything I know, and he, you know, gave me the grace and the opportunity to explore that. I remember the first time he asked me to shoot something with him, I was like,
Are you
no.
crazy?
I was like, I've never done this before. I don't want to mess it up. And he was like, what's a better way to learn than just to do it? And I was like, you're exactly right. You're so awesome. And so it's been really fun to shoot on that medium because the lighting changes. You know, I'm so used to digital where, you know, you just set up lights differently. The actors approach the set differently. And so, you know, working on a film set was really, really good experience.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Natalie, for your time. You did an incredible job with the cinematography. I think I pronounced it right? Cinematography for the Traveler's Fugue. Thank you so much, Natalie. And stay tuned, everybody, because we're going to have the whole crew of the Traveler's Fugue. We're going to have Natalie. We're going to invite Thom back. We're going to have the lead actors, Jessi and Kacy, coming with us. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the crew of Traveler's Fugue. I have the director of photography, cinematographer, Natalie Perez. I have Kacy and Jessi, the two lead actors. And of course, I have Thom, who is the mastermind, or should I say the culprit, for this entire project. So welcome back, everybody.
Thank you.
So now we have the whole crew together. Are we going to have time travel together? Like, is there going to be like a machine where we are going to like...
I would love to time travel back in time and be young again like these ladies here.
Now, like you mentioned a lot about having a welcoming crew, you know, something warm. The question is, are you still friends? You know, are you just like, or are you still really friends after the film? Because it's hard to like when you put in a pressure cooker, right? Because you have like a short period to work together. Like when I feel like that you're being put in a pressure cooker. So
yeah,
behind the scenes
stress
now.
tends to figure out what breaks, you know, with stress, but it can also create diamonds. So we created diamonds with the pressure that we had. And was there really that much pressure?
No. Can I
Yeah.
just say did you talk about leaving cameras?
No.
Oh, there was one day we were shooting in the forest, and I think your camera broke, or like he didn't bring a backup, and so we were sitting for like maybe a few hours with burritos, but it was wonderful, and everyone just sat in the woods
in a picnic style with burritos,
and I was scared of bears. I think if I'm on a hot mic, I probably mentioned bears like 20 times, but no, it was wonderful. Like I genuinely really, really love each other. I mean, I can say but like, I miss you guys. And yeah.
It was strange because like everybody who came aboard was aboard. That's the craziest part because you usually on some sets, you'll have people who just don't mesh with the rest of the crew, the attitude, the bad vibes, whatever. They bring bad energy.
Yes.
But everybody just had, it was amazing. I'm still baffled by how lucky I was. And, you know, it's incredible, yeah.
Yeah, and Natalie, you know, having this crew working together, right? Because you know Thom, you've known Kacy before. So what was, and then you obviously met Jessi in the crew. So what was kind of your special moment doing the project? I mean, apart from having that Doritos in the park, what was like your special moments like you felt that, you know, sometimes I feel there's always one or couple of things that kind of like the memory that you hold. So what was yours, Natalie?
It's really hard to choose, but it's very small, and I would say there was a scene that we were shooting on my block where the two bullies come for the second time and ultimately get scared off. But, you know, I live in an older neighborhood, and to see a lot of the older neighbors that I have kind of come out on their lawn and just watch us film made it seem like it was a show. Like we were putting on a show, not just a movie, but literally an entertainment show for my neighborhood. And that was really fun. Just a fun, cool moment to kind of bring this passion of mine, like literally into my house and on my street. Yeah, that was really cool. I did want to mention, though, really quick, going back to the forest, not only did Thom forget his camera, he also exposed a whole roll of film. So basically, just to give you some context, film, like, you have to keep it in the dark. So when when you're changing mags, you got to keep them in the dark. Well, Thom got confused one of the mags that we wanted to film with, and he just opened it up, exposing it to the sunlight, and we had already filmed a couple scenes on it. And so it was once again like, oh no. And on other sets, that would have been like, that's it, you're fired, or what, like, that's the end of the day, everyone's pissed. Yeah. But it was like, oh well, we didn't need those shots anyway. Like, okay, let's just keep going. So that just goes to show how flexible everyone was.
That is so cool. Like the oh no moments, right?
So I got to preface the story add on to the story. Okay, so that I drove 1.5 hours back to my place, picked up my B camera, my other camera, drove it back, and then I was so exhausted and so out of my mind, tired, that I said, okay, we got to move. We got to speed, right? And they're like sitting around like, hey, this is all right. And I thought eating burritos. I didn't eat that whole day. I was going to vomit. Okay, so I just opened up the magazine. And I was like, and then Ilya, our Steadicam op, was like, oh my God, what did you do? Yeah. And I was like, we didn't shoot anything on this. This was all like, because the camera was malfunctioning, the film was rolling. So I was like, no, this is all, oh. And then Natalie comes over, she's like, oh, can you put it back? I was like, no. That's what you said. You said that. And I started, then we started, okay, but then we started laughing. And then Ilya was like, are these guys crazy? Because Natalie goes, oh, we're not going to use that footage. I didn't like it anyway. I go, yeah. And so the back half of that, so then I looked at I was like kind of bummed out the whole day. Got the film processed, got it back, looked at the footage. I was like, yeah, we really didn't need that footage.
Yeah, I think God is just sending you a big message, right? Like, Thom, like there's no need, like of all the times you're gonna expose it to the sun. Like God is just giving you, like, it's okay, Thom. I'll make your job easier.
I was blessed with people who knew better. Like that was a calming presence. It was like, hey, I didn't like that shot anyway. That's the nature of Natalie. Like she's pleasant and makes things so comfortable. It was, I mean, your first shoot on film and having Natalie because there's a lot of people who add stress to performance and everything.
Yes.
And it's great to have energy like that. Like it's calming.
Rare. It's so rare.
Super rare.
Absolutely.
Like, and that's not the first time I've heard this from other sets that you've shot on. Like my friend
the calming energy, right?
Yeah.
Which is like kind of like what pulled you to Jessi as well, because Jessi, you have that sweet innocence, calming kind of like vibe for you. But like my question is, Jessi, like your character is like alien based, right? I mean, you're not an alien, but you kind of believed in it, like. Do you believe in it? Like, is that part of your passion as well? Or you're kind of just honing in, like, Back to the Future, kind of like to bring in that role? Because it's hard when you kind of believe in something that is cuckoo.
Right. I think I just believe in Paige's, like, passion in general. Like, honestly, I do believe in aliens, but that's for a separate occasion. That's a different conversation. But no, Paige, she is just a go-getter, and she will let nothing stop her belief in this world. And I feel like for me, like as an actress, I feel like I get that from other people as well, like the kind of like doubt and uncertainty and like you're crazy for even wanting to like pursue this, so I feel like I pull that into her character, and that's what I also believe in. I
mean, thank God you guys came together in this passion project, because in a way with you having your dreams together, coming together, it made my dreams come true. Like having, this TV show, the A La Opera. So literally, I was in Malaysia then, and I saw Natalie promoting. I'm like, how do I watch it? Like, maybe do you guys want to come to my TV show? But I wanted A La Opera style. But I just like so in gratitude, like how when we pursue each of our dreams, right? We never know what it's going to lead to. It's going to help other people's dreams come true. So thank you so much for your special heart and the project, for your passion. And Thom, next time, I'm going to be in the crew, right? Like, in the crew. I did some acting before, but then it's a different point. Like he's like, like he's not like.
You'll be part of the family. Once you're in, you're in.
I mean, I'm already in, dude. Like, what are you like? I'm already in with the crew. So thank you so much for coming. Travel Switch Q. Thank you everybody for watching. And that's it. And we're wrapping up with It Takes Courage with me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. Thank you.